This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author U and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, hello to everyone. This is a special day to millions and millions throughout the world. It's Christmas, and I have actually pre-taped our show because our family celebrates Christmas with a huge gathering. And I reached out to a long-time friend, a humongous best-selling author who you'd all have book envy and author envy when I let you know what some of her stats are, including her books have been in 13 countries, including one of them has sold in excess of 1 million, 1 million real copies in print, that it was a #1 seller on the Book of the Month Club, and it's just celebrated its silver anniversary. The title, How to Work a Room. My guest is the author, Susan RoAne. And I actually thought that this topic during the holiday season and all the celebrations and events that are going to evolve in this coming new year is really a perfect topic, because a lot of times you get tongue-tied. Sometimes you just don't know what the right thing is to say at the right time, and the wrong things spill out of our mouth. We've all had those events happen. And I thought that this would be a great time to kind of dig in and talk about, how do you work an author event? How do you work a celebration? How can you turn an event into a potential event for you or celebration? So with that, Susan and I are going to be diving into a variety of things to make you slick, click, and tick during the remainder of this year, as well as in the new year. So Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas to all of you who are with us today and will be listening. I know most of our listeners come from the podcast, and we'll have a huge amount during this following week. But Susan, welcome to the show. Back again. We've had you before. Our
yes, and I'm so happy to be here on such a wonderful, happy, merry holiday.
Yes. You know, I kind of like the English way they say Happy Christmas. I kind of like Happy Christmas.
You know, it's very interesting. In the view of being politically correct, what I've learned to do is to say Merry Christmas to my friends who celebrate Christmas. You know, that kind of makes sense. But merry and happy is what I say, and then you kind of fill in the blanks.
Right, exactly. And you know what? I did the same thing and sent out, Happy Hanukkah to my friends who celebrate Hanukkah.
But you've always been that thoughtful. Okay, this is for our listeners. Too bad this isn't visual. I have in my little Happy Hanukkah house a gorgeous candle that I put out every year that Judith gave me years ago, and it's part of my Hanukkah decor. So you're in the house, Judith.
It sounds good to me. That sounds good to me, totally. All right, let's talk about, first of all, why don't we just tell our listeners about How to Work a Room. It's a silver anniversary, which means it's 25 years old. And this is the what edition of it?
This is the 4th full edition. In terms of reprints, I don't even know. It's probably the 58th reprint, but in terms of a revision. But I want to tell the audience why there is a book, How to Work a Room, for 25 years. And that's because of our host, Judith Briles. 28 years ago, I took a course from Judith that she did for National Speakers Association here in the Bay Area about how to be a published author. So if you think that Judith is just new to this, she's been teaching authors and potential authors how to do a book for literally close to 30 years. And successfully, and I'm one of the big successes because Judith at that event picked up one of my columns for the Examiner and said, Suze, you can really write. How to Work a Room should be a book.
And there you go. So I get to be the godmother.
You are the godmother. It's in the book. You are the godmother of the book. That, by the way, every one of us who writes a book, our books have godmothers and godfathers. Be sure to name them in the acknowledgments.
Oh, thank you. All right, so let's talk about how to work a room and how do we morph that into our events and our celebrations that we go on to. And Susan, I know that you've done a gazillion author events to celebrate your book. I know that you actually have bought cakes in the celebration. We've had dinners. We've had a variety of things as you've evolved. You've always done a celebration.
And, you know, it's even more than that. When I don't have children, the book turned 10 years old. I thought, the book is making me money. What do? You say thank you. So I gave my book a 10th birthday party at a local restaurant, invited my friends. You know, they came, free drinks and some food, but it even had embossed napkins that I still have. If we don't celebrate those moments, so I promised my book at 10, if it was still earning me money at 13, and for me that meant royalties, I'd give it a book mitzvah. And I did, and people flew in from San Antonio, Chicago, L.A. I mean, because I didn't have kids. If I had a kid, they would have flown in, right? But I even had the chopped liver flown in from New York. People said they thought it was quirky. Actually, it was great fun. But it was also a way for me to include the people that have been supportive of me and my book for all those years. And if we don't celebrate these significant moments, you know, we're missing an opportunity to reach out to the people that helped us get there.
So what you're really saying is you want to remind them, even though they have another book. And I'm telling you, with revision, and especially the How to Work a Room, and I had someone who was looking at your book, the current edition of it, and she ended up, she was just kind of drooling, and I ended up ordering a copy for her and wrapped it up for Christmas.
See that now, folks, that's a friend.
Yeah.
A good friend. That's why Judith is the godmother of the book. And I am going to say this about those who are in revision and are working on their books. And that is, if you really, really want to be this author, we really need to be people who buy books as gifts for ourselves, etc. I said this to my friends. I said, you had a kid. Do I look like the person that's going to buy a toy? I'm an author. Your baby's getting books. We have to be the people who support books if we want people to support and buy our books. It's a quid pro quo.
It really is, and if it's not, if I have a book and you've been in my offices in my house, I mean, if there's one addiction I have, it's books, and I actually clean out books. I mean, where I'm not on the road doing conflict resolution, which several of my books have been about. I'm not doing the leadership books so much. I actually gave all those away and moved those out because I'm always bringing in new books. There's rarely a book that I don't see that I want to get my hands on, if it's been well put together and the like. And if I have someone who is envious of a book and it's not a personally signed edition, I actually will give it to them and just immediately reorder a book. And I think that one of my points here is for all of you is allows generosity to come forth. It does come back to you. And the second thing is that if you think you're going to loan a book out and it's going to come back, that is one of the great myths. If you really want the book, get another copy right now, because I've actually loaned books out and they have come back and it looks like they've been dropped in the bathtub. They have written in the book. I actually terminated a partnership with someone because the sole lack of care of my property really told me a lot about her.
An interesting comment.
Yeah, and I didn't want to go forward with it, so that was it. That was really kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in our partnership. So, in celebrations, what I wanted to share, and I know we have a couple of minutes before our first break here, is I was recently at Barnes and Noble, and that I was there actually to support a good friend of mine, Dom Testa, who has written lots of books. He writes for the juvenile age group, and he's got the Galahad series, and he's got a whole new series that he started. And Barnes & Noble has a very cool, and you want to know about this because there is one of the last big standing groups out there, is who you contact to do any kind of signing is what they call the CRM, the Community Relations Manager. And here's what they did, that they have a program here in Colorado for for nonprofits, and AuthorU.org, which is one of the groups I started, is a nonprofit. We're actually going to be putting together, I haven't even announced it to the group, the week before Mother's Day, an entire day at the Colorado Boulevard branch of Barnes & Noble celebrating AuthorU authors. Now, how cool is that? And on top of it,
great.
Barnes & Noble will be making a donation back to our foundation. How cool is that for every book that is bought in the store? I mean, a happy dance from this girl here. So you only find out by figuring out celebration. So I showed up there to support Dom Testa in his Big Brain Club. That's his foundation. And he sent me over the voucher. I printed out a bunch because anytime I saw someone holding a book that I knew they didn't walk in with, they were buying, I approached them and said, hey, how would you like to make a donation, have Barnes & Noble make a donation for anything you buy to the Big Brain Club? I told them 1 minute, one line what it was. And tons got that way. I became part of it. And I showed up with my book table because I was, offering my books too. I showed up with a whole honorary. It's Christmas time. So I showed up with Christmas decorations. Literally, we brought in a box. My table had decorations, and we made it very festive. And guess what? People stopped by. And you don't stand behind the table. That's one thing Susan and I will both tell you, is you don't stand behind the table. You be out there to greet people. And we're going to get much more into that as we've set this up. This is Judith Briles. My guest is Susan RoAne, the author of How to Work a Room. And you're listening to AuthorU, your guide to book publishing this Christmas season.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Many of us have dreamed of writing a book.
Some of us even have.
Then the hard work starts.
You'll need an editor.
Who will design the cover or typeset the pages?
Who will format the ebook?
If you're a business owner, consultant, or coach with a serious message and expertise to share, the team of experts at 1106 Design can guide you through the maze.
They've helped more than 1,000 authors create top-quality books and avoid the not-so-reputable self-publishing companies.
Learn more at 1106design.com.
Then call Michelle at 602-866-3226. 1106 Design.
Is there a book in you or another? AuthorU will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join AuthorU today through its website at AuthorU.org. Follow AuthorU on Twitter at AuthorU and on Facebook at AuthorU, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. AuthorU, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
the TogiNet Radio Network, broadcasting quality programming to the world.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
With me today is best-selling, like a million books best-selling author Susan RoAne, and she knows how to create events, how to celebrate, how to do acknowledgments. She really could be the Emily Post of all of this. And we're talking about really some of these hot tips for creating these book celebrations, revelations, launchings, and I used a word called festive. And I think that one of the things that's important, and I want Susan to jump in here, is that if you go in with a plain Jane, I'm here and I'm just going to stack up some books, I'm going to tell you that kind of comes out of your pores. That you need to hype it up here.
Judith, you and I can tell this to everyone, because I can even tell you the day that they booked me. This was back when we had Crown Books. They booked me to do a book signing. They couldn't, whoever was the event person couldn't get it together to understand the difference between a book signing, and this is where I want you to hear this, and book event. Well, the book signing ended up being great for one reason. A, only one person showed up. B, the people who were in the bookstore just casually didn't even want to come over to the author because they were afraid they'd be guilted into buying a book. But luckily, our dear friend Patricia Fripp came. So we ended up, it was the best book signing because she and I spent an hour together just chatting. But don't ever let anyone book you for a book signing. By the way, book signings do work if you are fabulously famous or have done something so egregious that everyone knows your name. Then all you have to do is sign the book. But for the rest of us, we have to create an interactive event and be festive. And Judith, you brought, the decorations and the table runner. At every event I have done for this launch for How to Work Room, the Silver Anniversary Edition, and I have 2 more coming up, I go to Trader Joe's, and this is not a commercial from them, and buy what could best be described as the most delicious junk food, and I will buy some cheese just in case someone is a health person. But if you're gluten-free, you're out of luck with me. You have to eat your cheese with your fingers because there's nothing to put it on. I bring food. I bring the platters it's served on. I bring the napkins. I bring, water so that everyone can have a bottle of water because a lot of people don't bring their own. They get thirsty. I take care of people's needs. They walk in, that table's already set.
So you do everything but supply the porta potty, huh?
Right. Yeah, I'm counting on the bookstores to have it. I do that because I want that bookstore or wherever the event is to look like a party, to look like a celebration. It's worth the $30 of fattening, delicious noshes and snacks.
Yep.
Oh, I even
Susan,
have a portable vase.
There you go. I have brought flowers in. I have brought in balloons, helium balloons. I would bring in a colored tablecloth, or if you use black, you just need a lot of black is always fine, but you need to have other color behind it. And here's another tip I want to give to all our listeners, that it's smart to have your book cover or your picture, meet the author, something like that, on a foam board that is not, the size of your real book. We're talking big. So it's big and it's propped up. But here's a little tip I want to give all of you. Make sure you print the same thing on the other side, because many times tables that the places, a book event, a bookstore, it could be a department store, it could be an art gallery, wherever you have this, they supply. There are actually people who are, you're kind of in a circle thing and they're moving around. There are people who are going to see the back of this as well. Why not have your book cover on the back as well?
That's a great idea. I never even thought about that. And Judith did the same thing with me when she reminded me to have not this book, but this last book, on a big poster. It used to be that a lot of the publishers would send them out to bookstores, but now you can't rely on anything or anybody. And maybe that's another point with book events. You can't really rely on anybody or any place to love your book and support your book as much as you will. And I want to reemphasize that, bookstores are a great place to have a book event. And don't for a minute believe that anyone who says don't have book events, they don't sell books. That's hogwash. When a bookstore, I recently did something at our books event, Books Inc. in Mountain View. They put it on their website. They get it in the local paper. They have it plastered in the store, in the windows, in the printed newsletter they send out. They give you PR and publicity. And a lot of people say, well, I only sold 15 books at my book signing at the bookstore. You don't know how many they sell before you even get there, because some people are busy and can't show up. And on top of it, when you sign copies, they'll sell copies afterwards. So if a bookstore sells even 20 books, they feel fabulous that you did a great job.
They do. Let me add on a couple of tips here that most people do not realize, and Susan has very clearly identified there is a difference between a book signing and a book event. And what we're trying to tell you, on a book event celebration, you have a much better opportunity of, number one, building a fan because you're interacting with people, but also that you will sell much more books. The average book signing, this is a gulp. Most, when these authors just sit there, gulp. They sell 4 to 6 books. It's horrible. So when Susan says 15, a bookstore is ecstatic. And that what you've got to do is really learn to work a crowd and work events. So when I have one of my authors here, that if I can attend their book launch, I am not shy in supporting them. I mean, hell, I know about their book. I helped them create it. And I will go out and hustle the crowd that they didn't even know they came to hear this author, and push them to there so they could meet them and get the deal. It is great to have a buddy that will do that kind of thing for you.
Well, you're a great wing woman.
Yes, I'm a wing girl. That's me.
Yeah, the wing girl. But here's the other thing. In social media, what the bookstores, or whether it's a library, a bookstore, whether it's, like you said, an art gallery, they want to have events in their space because they want to bring people to their space. I'm doing something at the Sunnyvale Library. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a book event. Let's not forget libraries. I mean, really, they actually have books. You think they won't sell books. They will sell your book. But again, if you are interested in becoming an author that's recognized, you have to build relationships before your book comes out. Shop in your local bookstores. Shop in your local independent bookstores, because they really have more flexibility and if they can book you than perhaps a national chain that has definite rules. So So you be a presence in your local bookstore, and they generally will be happy to support you because you have a market. You have your friends, your family, your colleagues that live there that you could bring into the bookstore. Here's their thinking. You bring them in for your book, they're browsing through, they see another book, they'll buy 2 books. So you want to position yourself as being someone who has something to bring to that event because you've got people. Don't forget your cleaner, your dentist, your car mechanic, all those people are people in your network that you invite. Now that we have social media, you can do a lot of social media. You can send an email to everyone you know. You can have a little, poster card made, drop it off at the mechanic, drop it off at the cleaner. My cleaners had and kept and still has the postcards of how to work a room. So when people come in, she'll say, oh, it's our author. The fact, of course, that I quoted her in the book does simply help. But she's happy to help me promote. So don't forget, we always think our network has to be the people of important titles. No, it's people who know other people. Your mechanic, your hairdresser.
Exactly. And I just had an idea that, I know that John Grisham, for example, there's a restaurant he likes a lot in New Orleans that they actually display, and he mentions them in a copy. He'll use them kind of like a backdrop of a scene and something, but they actually display his books in their window coming in. And, if you've got someone, for example, like your dry cleaner that still has your postcards, here's another idea. You could literally take a cover of your book and frame it and sign it and say, Dear Georgianne, loved featuring you in my book. I'll bet you they'd frame it. They'd frame it. You've got it framed. They'll post it, and we'll keep pushing your book. I mean, that's what they do with celebs in restaurants. Why not create a celebrity gallery in some of the places that we use? Just a thought that dropped into my little noggin here. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're with Susan RoAne. We're talking about how to make a unique celebration, an event that will sell books so you don't just sit like a lump. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Since 1987, Color House Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Color House to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing with Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
The TogiNet Radio Network, broadcasting quality programming to the world. When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
You know, I want to mention before this year is out that the Draft a Dream book competition is still open. This is for an author who hasn't published in the specific category. If you're a fiction author and you're working on a nonfiction book, the Draft a Dream competition is for you. If you're a nonfiction and you want to convert something into a fictionalized or something for children, it's for you. That there's going to be 4 amazing winners who are going to walk away with almost $10,000 in prizes. Basically, they're going to have their entire book edited and published and printed. How exciting is that? All the details are on the authoru.org website, authoru.org. And I think /competition, and you'll get right into it. But read it. Get involved with it. It is an incredible deal. With me is Susan RoAne. We're talking about events and celebrations and how you can turn yours into a rock star event and really soar with connections, with sales and all that. And one of the things I wanted to bring up, Susan, before we go further, is the whole area. If you're dealing with a chain, i.e. Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, that usually, and I know Barnes & Noble, this is in their scope, is they don't want to buy from an independent publisher. They don't want to buy from most of us who are listening in. They want to buy it through a wholesaler or distributor, and you're thinking, oh my God, Ingram won't take us. You've got to have a whole bunch of books underneath your umbrella, and Baker and Taylor sometime, it's $350, and what am I going to do? Why don't you just Google local book distributors? And for example, here in Colorado, where I'm based out of, they have something called, right here in Denver, Books West. And you can make a direct connection saying that you're going to be doing multiple signings in the area, that you've got groups that are going to be buying books and you need a distributor. And could you develop an account with them? It'll get it much faster. Barnes & Noble can call that local distributor and satisfy the New York gods that tell them how they have to do things, and they can get your books right away. And literally, and when I just did the Barnes & Noble here to support Dom Testa's whole idea launch, that what Books West was, create the invoice. We just walked in with the books, so they were there and they had it. And it was kind of like a paper trail, but we were fine, and the New York people were fine and didn't get on anyone's back. So you need to think about that. So you have your ducks lined up. And if you're going to work with them. Otherwise, independent bookstores usually don't have a problem ordering directly from you, the publisher. So it's a kind of a FYI. Okay, Susan, festive.
Ma'am. Here's a couple things about book events. This is one thing where we are now in the most fortunate time, Judith, because we can, through technology, through social media, we can expand the attendance list. In fact, there's one bookstore that wouldn't book me unless I would guarantee 20 bodies.
There you go.
But that's what they want because it has to be, cost effective for them. as it turns out, it was very funny because she has a very small but highly regarded bookstore. There was only room for 18 bodies in that bookstore. So I didn't understand what that was. I go, well, that would be how to squeeze into a room. But, you know, they need help from us. And that's why when you have something to offer, especially the independents, you have a lot more flexibility. But here are a couple things. A book event means that we have to do a couple things, and that is, besides invite people, besides bring the food and make it a festive, we have to work the room. Those people, whether they're the people we know or the people who came because of the topic and they were supporters of the bookstore, they are, and this is, I'm going to give you the magic thinking from How to Work Room, they are our guests. And when we realize that we are the host, and it is our job to make those guests feel welcome, engaged, connected, appreciated, they're more comfortable. A lot of people come to book signings because they want to be anonymous. They really just want to hear someone speak and leave. The more you can do to make people feel welcome, they become part of your word-of-mouth team. So that's where you work the room. That's where you, and this is, Judith and I have done this for years when we have spoken at any event. You be the greeter. When someone walks in, you put out your hand, you say hello, have you had something to eat, what's your name, what brought you here, well, thank you for coming. You know, I know people say, I don't know what to say to them. Go back to the things we learned when we were growing up. What brought you here? Did you have any trouble getting a parking space? You're interested in the topic. What makes you interested? Thank you so much for coming. Have you had a bottle of water? Oh, look, there's someone else that's, you know, might be you've already met. Introduce them to someone else at the event. By the way, here's what I've done for a number of events. I brought name tags and had them fill them out so that when they talked to other people at the event, they could see their name, which was effective. That made them feel more comfortable because they knew people's names. So that's just a thought. That's something I've done. But then if you bring name tags, you have to bring your own thick marker, because if everyone writes their name in a little ballpoint pen, all of us that are over 40 can't see their name on their name tags.
Well, you want to get a thick Sharpie anyway. And you know, the other thing Susan and I just thought about, because we mentioned notches and food and things like that. You need to make sure you ask your host, the bookstore host, if it's okay to bring that in, because they may have some rules. So it's,
yes, that's definitely true. Generally, they are really thrilled because they like the idea of this celebration because they know it helps sell books. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be giving a book event in a wonderful bookstore and gift shop in Berkeley called Afikomen, which is a Jewish bookstore. And I said to her, I'll bring the snacks. And then it occurred to me, and this is a good reminder, Judith, I have to ask her because I don't know if there are any food or dietary laws I have to observe.
Exactly.
Besides the diet laws, though I have to interject here. This is why we should watch great TV shows with a pen and movies with a pen and paper. So I'm watching Orange is the New Black, and a new prisoner was coming in, and they tell the cook chef, well, she's gluten-free, and one of the women said, really? If you got a special diet, don't do the crime. Which I thought was hysterical. And you'll see what we just did. When we are well-read enough as authors and that we watch TV and we hear the great lines, we have something to bring to that conversation, even though there will be people at every event, whether it's a Christmas party, a New Year's party, a convention, that we don't know. When we are well-read in areas that maybe not be our favorite areas, we've got something to talk about. And that's an underscore. I think the people who are great conversationalists, it's just that they're well-read. They have something to share. And it isn't always talking about my book. It might be talking about football. It might be talking about deep dish pizza. It might be talking about a new movie that I saw. And then that segues to our book because you're already connected to people by way of conversation.
Well, Susan, what's interesting here, which you bring up, and I know what's one of your key points, is that small talk, because this is all small talk. Small talk can be very powerful because small talk, it becomes the connector. It really does come the connector. We just had within the last week or so, the Orion launch went off, and that the sampling, and I got up because my daughter is the administrator of the subsystem for the abort system, so we're very involved.
That's Shelley.
Yes, Shelley. Yeah, watching what's going on. And in the first day, it didn't go. The second day, it was, if you want to talk about a textbook flawless, unbelievable. And I was just so excited, and I'm texting back and forth to her and all this because Lockheed Martin flew her there to be there. And it was, then I had my grandchildren over, the 11 and 9-year-old. Do you know, as a former teacher, Susan, not one word was about this huge science thing that's going on. Not one frickin' word in schools. Not one word. And that kind of thing. But on the small talk side, which I think this is big talk, but on the small talk side, that people were talking about it. And I'm going, what is going on here? But anyway, you want to think about that.
If you don't know what's going on in your own community, in your own city, in your own neighborhood, and in the country, it's not about us. Though I like to think everything's about me, but I actually have a T-shirt that says it's all about me. But the more we have information at our fingertips that could be of interest to other people, the better the conversation is, the more we make people feel welcome around us. As authors, we can't appear that every word out of our mouth is about selling our book, buy my book, buy my book. It's actually offensive to a lot of people. But if we can have a conversation and throw in a little segue, that reminds me of an interview I did for my book, and you can say the name, and then go back to your story. That's how we do it. Small talk is truly, and that is my mantra, small talk is the biggest talk we're going to do. That's how you find out if you went to the same school, maybe in a different, I hate to say this, century.
We'll come back to right after this break. Century or no century, small talk sells books. This is Judith.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today, 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
Reaching out from the heartland of the United States with quality programming. This is TogiNet Radio.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
So when we started with you roughly 40 minutes ago, we were talking about celebrations, and I had just been at a Barnes & Noble, and I brought in all the paraphernalia, so it would be festive and all that. And one of the things that I want to give you an idea, because I think it'll be fun, and it adds to the festiveness of it, is that don't wrap a book. I mean, we're doing, huge holiday selling season this time. People wrap presents up. I'm telling you, don't do it with a book, because look you spent all this money creating these wonderful colors with great colors and all that. I want you to find an accent color in your cover. Pick up a minor one, and then go to a Michael's or a Hobby Lobby or somewhere where there's a really good array of ribbon, and you want a sheer ribbon, whether it's a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch. If it's a big book, it could be even an inch if you want to, but you don't need to go that big. And all you do is, and I actually, while we were off the air, I texted over to Susan RoAne, my guest today, a picture of my little book, my latest book, Snappy, Sassy, Salty, which I hope you all have bought. And on Snappy, Sassy, Salty, there's a kind of a goldy, lemony, orangey in it. And so I picked up a sheer 1/2 inch ribbon, and I just do that corner to corner there, and bow. I show up at any event with pre-cut ribbon, because I know how much I need for each book. I have a bag of orange, a bright lemon yellow, and a purple, all the key colors in the cover. And I bring that, and that I ask people, is this a gift for you? And they say, it is, it's just for me. After I sign it, I put a ribbon on, and I said, and I hand it to them. I just say, from me to you. When it's for their father or a friend or whatever, I actually will go in and find maybe an inscription that might be perfect, and I'll write, page 104 is for you, and sign it, and then I wrap it so they go away with an already wrapped gift. And I'm telling you, it pops out. They love it. It makes them smile, and it's just a nice little touch.
You know what?
To add.
I've learned from you, because the cover of my book is in red. So after Christmas, I'm going to go and buy all the on sale red see-through ribbon.
there you go.
Here's another tip I'm going to add that I do when I autograph a book. It is not enough to write your name. Personalize the autograph. Ask people what they do. Talk to them a little bit as you're signing, so that you can find that one little fact and personalize it. Now, when it's a gift, what I do is I sign it from Susan RoAne And if it's a daughter, I mention the daughter's name. So it's I've had a lot of parents who buy How to Work a Room for their children because they like them to get a job and get out of the house, but that's another story. And I'll say, from Susan RoAne and Mom or Dad.
Mm-hmm.
The person who's buying the book just goes, oh, smiles, and you never know who they'll tell that will help sell another book.
Exactly. And that's what this is all about. So, you know, do you have to turn yourself into a little bit of a show person? Yeah, you do. And if you're a shy Di or a shy Charlie or a shy whatever, you need to break out on this.
Well, here's the other thing. You know, Judith, and I know this because How to Work a Room has dealt with the issue of shyness, and I really think, thank you, shy people who've been so kind and bought my book for these years. But we now also have so many people who self-identify as introverts. And many authors are introverts because sitting and writing is a But so many people are so good at knowing that they have to do this to put the book, or whatever their job is. So if you are shy, if you're introverted, really go to my site. We have blog posts on that, what the shy person can do. How to Work a Room has a whole chapter. Whether you're shy or not, read this. There's so many things we can do to overcome it, because when you know you have a purpose and you know you have a product that's wonderful and you want to get it out there, that helps break through some of those issues. And so many of us are shy at different times. And by the way, if I were going to a party and they said there's all shy people at the party, I know I'll love it because shy people actually listen and pay attention. So that's my thank you, shy people.
And there you go. And there's that every author wants to have a good listener, but so it means your site has to be interactive and engaging, so they want to continue to listening, and that's a whole nother conversation.
And but, you know, Judith, you and I are both speakers, and so I would say to all of our authors, it is worth working on a 25-30-minute presentation of your book. I go to many book events where I've seen authors read from their books. They actually are so shy and introverted, they cannot string some casual, off-the-cuff conversation. You can actually plan your casual, off-the-cuff conversation, but you want to be sure that maybe you start not with thank you for being here, but start with a story, and start with a story from your book and tell people why it's in there and how it relates. But when we speak, we as the authors, because I've seen so many not do this, we must have a smile on our face. Unless, of course, you've authored a book on, mourning, MOURNING. We really need to be the person that's expressive, have eye contact. I've been to book signings where people their eyes are in their book and they're reading from the book, and I'm like, excuse me, why couldn't you do this when I'm trying to go to sleep because you're putting me asleep? We can read some from our book, but that can't be the essence. So it really is important that we have a good 25 to 30 minute for any event that features our book, that is dynamic, that's reflective of the book, that gives them information, that answers some of the questions, and that people feel comfortable asking questions about.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good idea at a book event to actually hold that book of yours and to read, or you can even paraphrase it. People read, they don't know you're reading or what you're doing. But I think that it's important for them to know that if you're giving some hot tidbit, or you're describing some saucy scene or some just pull them in scene, that it's coming from a certain chapter, and if so engaging, they're going to want to go get that book.
Yes,
I would make sure you do that. Also, I'm going to tell all of you, please do not start off an event, I'm so glad to be here. Get in, that's going to gag me. Get into something that is seductive, something that is outrageous, something that is, eye-grabbing. For example, I was talking to one of my authors that we work with. She has a book called The Concrete Killing Field, which would be a heck of a novel title, but it's actually about all her work she's done with the homelessness. And the concrete killing field is the graveyard of the homeless. And that with one of the things I left her with this morning, and I just said to Pat, and I'm going to recommend all that book to everyone, The Concrete Killing Field, because it is an awareness. And I said, how many people are homeless national-wide? She says it's roughly 700,000. I went on Wikipedia, and I went for the top populations of the states, and I said, here is your opener, darling. I wrote down a couple of lines for her to use, but it's something like, so what kind of country has more homeless people than the entire state of Vermont? What kind of country has more homeless than the entire state population of Wyoming? What kind of country? And I hit 4 of them. Bang, bang, bang. If you don't think those kind of lines will get people's attention, you don't know what's going on out here. That's the kind of grabbers that you're out for if you've got if your book is a newsworthy book or something along that line to do it. And Susan, I know you have some grabbers that you use for how to work a room.
The percentage of people who self-identify as shy this is via the Stanford Shyness Clinic, and I've been in touch with Dr. Bernardo Carducci and Dr. Philip Zimbardo. Dr. Carducci is at Indiana State University, or University of Indiana. Having that statistic, so that people are engaged. But and we learned this in speaking. We never thank or say I'm glad. Start with something interesting, provocative, something that captures their, that I call ear catching.
Yeah, I love ear catching. All right, Susan, we're at our last minute, so I just want to thank you for spending the last hour on this Christmas evening with us, and that I'm recommending to all of us to get. If you don't have How to Work a Room, the latest edition, get it, because it will make a difference whether it's a job interview, whether it's an event, whatever you're doing. It just will make you really the primo person in conversation, which is a good thing to be. So
well, and I'm going to give you something for free, because I'm the former teacher that says, until you can get the book, please go to my website, click on the book, and you'll see there'll be something that says infographic. Harper and I designed an infographic that's a step-by-step guide, very practical, to working any room. You get that for free, print it off, give it to your kids, your cousins, your clients.
And there you go. So go to Susan RoAne, RoAne.com, and you can get the infographics and everything else about Susan. Susan, Happy New Year. We'll talk to you next year.
Same to you, and Merry Christmas.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each